Good morning. Good morning, beautiful folks who are gathered here. We are going to begin in song, and if any point during the song you can feel free to come forward and add your flower to this growing bouquet up front. But we're going to start off by singing number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open. Please rise in body and spirit. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome into this loving community of seekers where we strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that will transform us and transform the world. It is good to be together on this special Sunday, one of the most beautiful Sundays of our calendar year here at the Unitarian Society when we gather for our annual flower communion. I'm the Reverend Julia Hamilton. I use she, her pronouns, and it is my delight to be here with you this morning. I love watching the bouquet come to life as each of you come forward and add your beauty to our greater whole. If you are joining us as a guest, a friend, a family member this morning, whether you are here in our physical sanctuary or joining us online in our virtual sanctuary, we are delighted to welcome you here. We would love to get to know you, get you connected with all that is going on in the life of this beautiful community. And if you are at home and you want to have a flower nearby, or maybe even look up a picture of a flower on your phone or computer and have that nearby, that works too. We want to include everyone in our celebration of community and beauty this morning. If you stop by our welcome table in the garden, you can find out more about the congregation and keep connected with us. If you sign in the visitor book online, there's a button right above where you're watching the live stream, and we can keep connected to you that way. And if you're joining us online, I encourage you to sign into the chat. It's like putting your name tag on here in our physical sanctuary. Signing into the chat is a way we can say hello and greet one another and get to know one another, no matter where we are joining from this morning. If you feel like this might be your home, if you've been coming for a while and you think you've found a community of people that you want to journey through life with here, we would love to welcome you into membership on any morning you are ready. You can stop by the membership table, talk to Angie, our membership and outreach coordinator, and help get connected to the life of this community. There is another special event happening right after the service this morning, and that is our annual meeting in Parish Hall. Everyone is invited, whether you are a member or not, whether you've been here for 50 years or 5 weeks. We would love to welcome you to our annual meeting. This is an opportunity to practice the democratic process that runs our congregation, elect the leaders that will move us forward into the new year, look back a little bit about what has happened this year and forward about our hopes for the future, and a wonderful time to celebrate and recognize all that we have accomplished in this quite remarkable year that we have lived through together. We have some upcoming events I want to highlight, and the first is that this Tuesday is our last evening service with Carolyn, our ministerial intern for this year, our Taizé service at 6 p.m. We fill the sanctuary with candles. It's an opportunity to sing very simple songs, sit in quiet together, refresh and renew our spirits. And Charlotte and I are already talking about ways we might be able to continue this into the next year, but this is also our chance to sing with Carolyn one more time on Tuesday evening. We have our Lunch and Learn series continuing through June. I want to give a special shout out to the next one with Peter Hale, which is on the art of writing reflections. Peter has been a worship associate with this congregation for quite some time and loves collecting stories and sharing stories. And this is a great opportunity to think about the stories you have that you might share, that you might find ways to share the meaning and purpose you derive from your life with the congregation, perhaps, at some point. So I encourage you to consider joining Peter Hale for that reflection writing workshop. I invite you now to take a breath, to allow yourself to arrive here. Let your spirit catch up with your body, perhaps this morning. Give yourself the gift of this moment in this community as we ring our bell and let the sound connect us.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn Bierke. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the intern minister here at USSB. Our chalice lighting this morning is by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy. And this morning, for our one good thing, the beloved Big Bear Eagles have once again soared into our hearts. This week, the younger of the two Eaglet sisters, Gizmo, took her very first flight. At 8:27 a.m. on Saturday, June 7th, friends of Big Bear Valley cameras captured the thrilling moment as Gizmo lifted off from the nest just 5 days after her sister Sunny fledged on June 2nd. Though younger, Gizmo has grown larger than Sunny, but needed a bit more time before spreading her wings. Now, under the watchful care of their parents, both eagles will learn to soar, hunt, and thrive in the wild. Their journey continues to inspire wonder, and that's a very good thing. And now, please rise in body or spirit and join in singing "We Celebrate the Web of Life."
much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Charla Bergante. I'm the Director of Religious Exploration here. My pronouns are she, her, and this is one of my favorite times of the service where I get to invite all the kids up to come sit. You get a close view of the flowers. Come sit on our steps for a story. So come on up if you are a child or a child at heart. Welcome up, everyone. Wow, Dylan, can you hold up what you made there? Because it looks like you made a flower. Can you stand up and so people can see it? That's pretty cool. Thanks, Dylan. You can sit down. Welcome, everyone. So today's our flower communion, and I think for some of you kids, this might be the first time you've participated in one, so I'm really excited to have you here, and for some of you grown-ups too. The story of the flower communion begins in Prague, Czechoslovakia, more than 100 years ago. In June of 1923, a Unitarian minister named Norbert Čapek created a beautiful ritual that we still observe today. Literally today. Times were hard in Prague in 1923. People were still recovering from the impact of World War I, which had ended just a few years earlier. Many of the people who came to Reverend Čapek's church didn't have enough money to meet their basic needs like food and clothing. They needed hope, and Reverend Čapek was known for his uplifting hymns, 3 of which are in our hymnal, and his welcoming community. People came to his church to learn about Unitarianism and build a new faith together. Now, Reverend Čapek's church didn't look like our church. In fact, it didn't really look like a church at all. It didn't have a tall steeple reaching for the sky like some churches do, like our tower. It didn't have massive doors carved of wood or stained glass windows like we have. It didn't have a chalice or a piano or flowers, and it definitely didn't have coffee hour with coffee and hot chocolate after the service. I don't know how you can go to church without that. No, this church was a basic box with 4 walls and a door. It had a ceiling and floor, a few windows, and some very hard wooden chairs. What it did have was people. People of all faith traditions, including Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, and they were the most important part of the church because without people, a church is just a building, right? Many people in Prague had been divided about the war. Many had lost loved ones or had been hungry or scared. And even though the war had ended, many bad feelings still remained. The members of this church were simply stuck in sad and hopeless feelings that followed the war. So Reverend Čapek wanted to create a ritual that would bring the people in his congregation some beauty, comfort, hope, and possibility created together in community. He turned to nature for inspiration. It was spring, and as Reverend Chopek walked around Prague, he couldn't help but notice the flowers blooming all around the city. These beautiful blooms gave Reverend Chopek an idea. For his special ritual, he asked everyone to bring a flower to church, just like we did this morning. "What kind of flower?" people asked. "You choose," said Reverend Chopek. It could be a flower from a fancy garden, a wildflower from a field, or even a flower growing up from a crack in the road. You could bring a perfect rose or a wilting dandelion. In Reverend Chopek's vision, all flowers, no matter what they looked like or where they came from, were beautiful and welcome. As people entered the church that morning, they put their flowers in a large vase, creating a beautiful bouquet with flowers of many sizes and colors. At a special point in the service, the children brought the bouquet to the front of the church so everyone could see it. Reverend Chopek then said a blessing over the flowers, which called for everyone in the congregation to see one another as a family despite differences, and to let the spirit of love unite them and help them live more joyfully and more freely themselves. At the end of the service, everyone was invited to take a flower, just like we'll do in a little while, a different flower than the one they brought. Moreover, they were to choose a flower without worrying about where it came from or who had brought it. This was the first service of what came to be called Flower Communion in Unitarian churches. Reverend Chopek wanted the many different flowers in his communion ritual to symbolize and celebrate the many different people in this community. Whether it was a common daisy or a spectacular cyclamen, a brand new bud or a rose beginning to droop its petals, brightly colored or ordinary, all flowers and all people were welcome and blessed in this community. Sadly, Reverend Chopek's life does not have a happy ending. 16 years after that first beautiful flower communion, there was another war. During World War II, Reverend Chopek and his daughter were arrested. He was originally sentenced to 1 year in prison, but in July of 1942, he was sent to the concentration camp in Dachau, where he was killed by the Nazis. And I know this part of the story is hard to hear. It's heartbreaking when bad things happen to good people. And it makes us sad, and that's okay. But Reverend Chopek lived his life with love at the center, just as we strive to do. And he lives on in our memory, and through this beautiful ritual he created more than 100 years ago. Like Reverend Chopek, Unitarian Universalists still believe everyone is beautiful and important, and together we can create an amazing bouquet of flowers and of people. And that's our time for all ages this morning. Kids, you are invited to stay in the service this morning. There are some activities over at a table right over there, or you're welcome to go back with your family. Your choice.
Our next song is My Life is Made Worthwhile by Norbert Chopek. The story of Norbert Chopek created the Flower Communion is rooted of how he created the Flower Communion is rooted in welcome, beauty, and hope. Born from a time of great hardship, Reverend Chopek was also a poet and a hymn writer. This morning we will sing one of his songs written a century ago and recently transcribed. Some of the language in this hymn, like the mention of heaven, may not reflect how Unitarian Universalists speak about faith today. But in Reverend Chopek's time, these words pointed toward a vision of spiritual courage, moral clarity, and the hope that our lives might serve something greater than ourselves. His theology called people to rise above despair and stand for justice. As we sing, we can imagine the voices of those early Unitarians in Prague singing through uncertainty and sorrow, choosing instead to live with purpose, conviction, and love. These words still speak to us. My life is made worthwhile by fighting bravely on. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. I will sing the first verse all the way through and then invite you to rise to sing in the spirit of Norbert Čapek and in the spirit of the communion of flowers. My life is made worthwhile by fighting bravely on for those ideals I hold most great and holy. Though evil winds may blow, they will not rock the calm in my soul, which remains both quiet and lowly. I may be disappointed, I might fall in the fight, but I am sure that my life was worth living. The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. All together. My life is made worthwhile by fighting bravely on for those ideals I hold most great and holy. Though evil winds may blow, they will not rock the calm in my soul, which remains both quiet and lowly. I might be disappointed, I might fall in the fight, but I am sure that my life was worth living. The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. For heaven waits for those whose spirits have won through, but I am sure that my life was worth living. And they will find the sun, whose minds have let them rise, and stand against the darkness and the mayhem. I might be disappointed, I might fall in the fight, but I am sure that my life was worth living. The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving.
A life worth giving. One of the values we practice here together in this community. The way we give of ourselves so that we may thrive together, not just here in this sanctuary, but in the wider world. And this is why each month we give a portion of our offertory away to support those programs and projects in our community that create that thriving life that we all hope for in this world. This month we are partnering with Juneteenth Santa Barbara. This is the third year that Santa Barbara has hosted the Juneteenth celebration, and if you haven't been, I really encourage you next Saturday to go in the afternoon. How many of you have been to one of the Juneteenth celebrations so far? quite a few of you. There's music, there's food, there's local artists, there's all kinds of ways to get connected and celebrate the Black community here in Santa Barbara. One of the reasons why this celebration is so important is because it affirms the value of the Black community here in Santa Barbara. Last week, I was at a community conversation hosted and called together by the NAACP of Santa Barbara to talk about how we can support and grow our work together to build a more inclusive community right here among us. And one of the things I heard so often was the importance of recognizing, lifting up, and celebrating the beauty of the Black community here in our community. And so I encourage you to go to the Juneteenth celebration, and if you want to do a double header, you can go to the No Kings demonstration that morning at 10:30, and then it's right there next to, they've coordinated very beautifully together to then allow people to go find some celebration and joy after the march. So it's possible to do it all. And please join with me in the affirmation of gratitude and give as generously as you are able to support this community and the work of Juneteenth. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
I hear a bird chirping up in the sky. I'd like to be free like that. Spread my open to everything. I'd like to be those flowers, open to everything.
Thank you, musicians and singers and choir, for all of the beauty you are adding to the natural beauty that we've gathered here today. It is remarkable to have such voices in our midst. Thank you. And I want to take a moment before I start my homily just to acknowledge that, like many of you, I have been watching the unfolding events in Los Angeles all yesterday and probably too late in tonight and too early this morning. And I'm holding in my heart all of the folks in Los Angeles that are working to protect our immigrant friends, family, and neighbors, and to lift up a vision of a more inclusive and beautiful world where all are welcome. And I know that so many of you hold that work with me here this morning, and I want to honor that and just take a moment to send love and peace and hopeful thoughts towards the folks in Los Angeles this morning. So I've been thinking a lot about legacy these days. And it's probably no surprise given all of the anniversaries that are coming up in the life of this congregation. The 100th anniversary of the Santa Barbara earthquake is going to be at the end of this month, an event that had quite an impact on this congregation as the first building fell down in that earthquake. We'll be talking more about that on Sunday the 29th. And we're also coming up on the 150th anniversary of this congregation. We'll be talking more about the history of this community in the coming years. And that's not even talking about the way we're looking forward toward the capital campaign and all the ways we want to talk about the legacy we're leaving for future generations in this congregation. So on top of all of those legacy thoughts here in this community, I've also been thinking about the legacy we as a nation are creating. The legacy we are leaving our children and grandchildren. What kind of world do we want to create? What kind of world are we creating? And how did we get to this point? And what will break this cycle and reset us toward a better path? Legacy is not just what we pass along to the next generation, but also the things we have absorbed and internalized from our own past, our ancestors, our parents and grandparents, and cultural backgrounds, the things we embrace, the things we reject, the things we might not even be aware of until some crisis sparks something and we see more clearly the way we do things and why we are the way we are. And therapy can help a lot with that on an individual level, by the way. But what about on a societal level? What about on a collective level? How do we send a nation to trauma counseling? To unlearn old violences and relearn care and connection and wonder. I'm reminded of this old story. There's a young woman getting ready to make a roast chicken dinner for her family one night, and she can't quite remember the recipe, so she calls her mom, and her mom says, well, you take the chicken, and first you cut the wings off, and then you put it in the pan. And the daughter says, wait a minute, why do you cut the wings off? And her mom replies, I'm not really sure. That's just the way my mom did it, so it's the way I do it, and that's the way I'm teaching you to do it. But your grandmother might know the answer. You should give her a call. So the young woman calls her grandmother and says, Grandma, I'm cooking a chicken for dinner, and Mom says to cut the wings off, but she doesn't know why, so she said I should call and ask you. And her grandmother started laughing, and she said, oh, honey, that's because our pan was too small, and the wings wouldn't fit. If you have a bigger pan, you can just leave the wings on. It'll be fine. We absorb these lessons from our past sometimes without even knowing why or where they came from. When we celebrate the Flower Communion every year, we are participating in reaffirming a legacy that, unlike the way we might roast a chicken, this is a very consciously created ritual. Chapek knew what he was doing intentionally when he created this moment for our communities, a legacy that hopes to instill the values of kinship and courage and an appreciation of the beauty and wonder of life. And it is no accident that this ritual was created at a time like this one, when those values were not something that could be taken for granted. According to the current minister at the Unitarian Church in Prague, which is celebrating their flower communion on this very day as well, they always celebrate it on the first Sunday of June too. The Reverend Dr. Peter Dolak-Samoshki said that fellowship and conscience were at the core of all of Chapek's teachings. Fellowship, community, and conscience, the way we choose to intentionally live in the world, individually and together. It is an impressive legacy to leave behind these values embedded in this ritual that has become embraced wholeheartedly across all of the Unitarian Universalist congregations that I have ever known. An altar full of flowers that represents the diverse beauty of humanity gathered into a loving community. But Chapek also said this about why he chose a flower for this ritual. He said, "We established the symbol of flowers because under this symbol, as far as we know, blood has never been shed and brothers have not gone to murder their brothers." Flowers could not be used as weapons of war and violence, Chapek said, which is why he wanted them to represent the beauty of us. They don't just symbolize that inner beauty, but they are also symbols of that aspirational beauty of a peaceful and beautiful coexistence. This is the legacy he wanted to leave to the world, a hopeful message of kinship and a courageous renunciation of the violence that was rising all around him. The violence of fascism, of course, was already on the move in 1923. And as we know, that ideology is the opposite of a diverse, blooming bouquet of humanity. It is a narrow and hierarchical and cruel vision of the world, where only some people are worthy, where only some people are allowed to gather, where only some people have value and everyone else could be exploited, removed, or eliminated. As I've been thinking about legacy, one of the questions that rises up for me in this moment is, why do people choose that narrow vision of the world? Why, when there is so much beauty here, so much to celebrate about the miracle of this planet and the fact that we get to be alive on it, why reject all of that and try to make life smaller and meaner than it has to be? And then I think about that chicken story and the ways we trim our lives down to fit the constraints of the past, sometimes without even being aware of it. The habits our parents and grandparents that play out within us without even knowing it, unless we bother to set time aside and interrogate that past. And then I look at the people in power and take note of how many of them had parents and grandparents who were actively and openly in support of fascist organizations. Organizations like the Ku Klux Klan, organizations like the British Union of Fascists, organizations like the apartheid state in South Africa. And it's no wonder that this culture of fascism has resurfaced, because unless those violent and hateful constraints are actively rejected, actively transformed, actively healed, actively reimagined, they will keep reiterating themselves over and over again. Which is why this ritual we celebrate is so much more than just beautiful. In many ways, this shared ritual, when it is not done to manipulate or control, but liberate and heal, this can be a kind of social therapy. We may not be able to send the nation to a trauma counselor, but we can collectively embrace practices that reimagine our future in ways that create possibility and hope. And perhaps that is the essence of religious ritual itself. It creates an opportunity not just to talk and think about our values, but to live them, to hold them in our hands. Experience them in a way that liberates our hearts. When done well, this can be like a kind of positive social reprogramming in the best way. Year after year, we gather here at the Flower Communion to bring these values of kinship and courage and beauty to life among us. And as someone who has participated in this ritual now for nearly my entire life, it just gets more powerful each and every year. And that power is not something to take lightly, but to hold in our hands and use for the greater good. Čapek wanted the Flower Communion to liberate us, to allow us to believe, even if just for 1 hour on a Sunday morning, that beauty and goodness are alive in this world and can prevail. And if we can believe that for 1 hour on a Sunday, maybe we can believe it for 2 hours and then 3 hours, and heck, maybe you can go the whole day imagining that beauty and goodness and goodwill can prevail. And perhaps if we do that, if we practice that, perhaps it can become true. And that is an anti-fascist ritual. That is what we are doing today, is an anti-fascist ritual. It is pro-humanity, pro-goodness and beauty, pro-diversity, pro-social behavior. We need spaces and places like this in our lives. We need to explicitly and intentionally reimagine the world, because if we don't, there are others waiting who will. And they are imagining a very different, much narrower and more hateful vision of humanity. And so let us make time, even with all that is coming towards us, let us make time to gather flowers, to find friends, and practice beloved community, so that when we leave here, we walk out into the world with flowers in our hands instead of the violence of the past in our hearts. We leave here insisting that all of humanity is beautiful, and that is why we hold it so dear. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. So in just a moment, Carolyn and I are going to consecrate the flowers that you have gathered together using the same words that Dr. Čapek wrote many years ago. And if you're joining us online, this is an opportunity to pull up that flower that you have nearby with you, whether it's real or virtual. And after we consecrate these flowers, the choir is going to rise and sing the first part of the anthem. And then, when the choir seats themselves, I'm going to invite you to come forward, starting with the back pew, come forward down the center aisle, and select one of these blooms, one of these gifts from an unknown friend that you have here in the congregation to take home with you. And after you've chosen your flower, if you can return to your pew down the side aisle until everyone has had a chance to come forward. And if you're joining us at home, you can use this opportunity to send love and appreciation from wherever you are to add to this beautiful bouquet of humanity that we have gathered. And now, in the words of Dr. Čapek.
Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion.
May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of the most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in the world. come forward. So now that you have your flower, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to hold it up high, and take a moment and look at the garden blooming around this room. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Carolyn's going to take a picture of us all holding our flowers up high. You are all gorgeous. Got to get the choir here too. They're also gorgeous. And now keep those flowers up. You don't have to hold them quite so high, but just hold them in your hand. And as we close with this flower communion prayer written by Dr. Chopek, in the name of all that is holy, which implants in the seed the future of the tree, and in the hearts of humanity, the longing for people living in love.
In the name of the highest, in whom we move and who makes the mother and father, the brother and sister and sibling what they are.
In the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of peace and justice.
Let us renew our resolution, sincerely to be real brothers and sisters and siblings, regardless of any bar which estranges one from another.
In this holy resolution, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are one family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us. May we endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life.
Amen.
Let us rise in body and spirit to sing our closing hymn, Make Channels for the Streams of Love. Right where you are, and if you want to hold your hand out to someone next to you or just hold your flower in front of you, however it is you want to get connected to that larger love that moves among us. And as you, Matthew, get connected in here, Matthew. And as you go out into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, may the light of love shine upon you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And let us call out a blessing.